Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today's video is going to be a little bit different than we normally do. It's going to be a story time today. So a lot of you guys have actually been asking me about like how I got my start in the paranormal and what really got me interested in the paranormal. And that's what I'm going to be sharing with you today. So I'm going to be sharing my experiences and the things that I experienced. The story isn't to scare anybody or to deter people from being a paranormal investigator or getting involved with the paranormal. I love seeing newcomers. I love seeing people getting interested and getting involved. However, I do know from talking to people and just from experience that there are a good amount of people that have had the same kind of story that I've had or have been dealing with attachments, and this story is to help them, hopefully. If I can help spread the word on how to get rid of attachments and how to help people, that would be great. That would be the whole goal here. So if you guys know somebody who has an attachment or maybe possibly has an attachment, send them this video and hopefully, or send them to my Instagram. I'm more than willing to talk to people. I talk to people all the time about attachments, and hopefully I can help them through that. So this video is definitely not for attention. It's just to educate people about the dark side of the paranormal and about some of the experiences that I've had because you guys have been asking so much. Before I get started, I just want you guys to know a little bit about me. So back when I was 15, I wasn't the popular kid in school. I was very shy, reserved. I didn't like talking to people, so I didn't have a lot of friends. I was also very negative. I tended to dwell on a lot of stuff. That's part of the Pisces. So I had a different attitude back then, and I think that really helped contribute to the attachment that I have now. So basically, when I was 15, I was dating this guy, and I made the decision to move into his house with him. And we were about the same age, so I was pretty much living with his parents and their two other sons. So they had just moved into this house too. So there was 2 bedrooms upstairs, a bedroom downstairs, so there was 3 bedrooms. So because everybody else had gotten the bedrooms because we were the youngest, we had to sleep in the basement.
Weirdo.
And it was like an unfinished basement. It was just like a regular basement. So the whole house was made out of wood. There was wood stairs going up. The whole floors were like wood. It was an older house in Mesick, Michigan. It's where I went to high school. I grew up in Michigan. I grew up in Traverse City. Anyway, so basically everything was pretty normal. And when we had started sleeping in this basement, I started hearing my name being called. So I really thought I was going crazy because I'm hearing my name. Say my name, say my name. And it would just be like whispers, like Amber, Amber. And I really thought that I was crazy, so I didn't really pay too much attention to it. And then after a couple months, it kind of escalated and got a little bit louder. And it got to the point where the people that were living with us, so his family, would hear my name being called too. And they'd be like, oh my God, somebody just said your name. And I'm like, I know, but I've been hearing it. Like, trust me, I know that it's there. I know what's going on. Now, I had never had any sort of experience at all, like, in my life. So I wasn't familiar with any of the signs of anything. I knew about ghosts, but I didn't really know too much.
I had no idea what to do.
This is probably around the time when like Ghost Adventures started getting like popular. My mother watched that show. I watched A Haunting every once in a while, and it used to scare the crap out of me. So I never had an experience up until this time. So we were staying in the basement. heard my name being called, and you would hear footsteps when nobody was home walking like upstairs and up these stairs. So, and then it started like little by little to like escalate and get a little bit worse. I remember I started feeling severely depressed about the relationship that I was in. I didn't want to be in it anymore. I started having doubts about moving. I was really negative about all of that. And I remember I tried to break up with him on a couple different occasions, but he would always cry and be like, I'm never gonna find anybody like you, blah blah. Like, and I would always feel bad, and I would end up staying instead of leaving. So I started to get really depressed, and I think that made me really angry. So there was a lot of mixed emotions that went along with that. So after about a couple months, the one family member ended up moving out, the oldest son. So we ended up taking the bedroom upstairs. So the way that the stairs work is, obviously there's stairs, they're wooden stairs. And then at the top, there's a parent's bedroom, and then this one would be our bedroom. And I remember I would always wake up in that bedroom, and I would feel like somebody's watching me. And then I would feel like breath on my face. And this happened on several occasions, and I remember being so scared that for a lot of them I didn't turn to look. But I did turn once, and there was nothing there. So I remember always just waking up in the middle of the night feeling like somebody was watching me all the time.
I always feel like somebody's watching me.
At nighttime or even during the day, like when I was home alone, I would feel like I was much more comfortable when there were other people there. And the name thing didn't stop. It just grew louder and louder to the point until like I would be upstairs and I would hear somebody yell my name downstairs, and I would go downstairs and there would be nobody in the house. I remember that happened a couple times, and I had to search the house and try to find whoever said my name, and I would never find anybody. I do know that we did use a Ouija board in that house. I'm not saying that the Ouija board contributed to anything. I don't want to imply that. I was not the one who used the Ouija board. It was his mom and him. I just happened to be there when they used the Ouija board, so I don't know if that has anything to do with it. I do know that we did say goodbye when we used the Ouija board. We didn't burn the Ouija board or anything like that. I'm not personally one of those people who are scared of Ouija boards. I just think that that just happens to be like a small coincidence. I don't think that has anything to do with that. So after living there for a couple months and being in the basement and then moving up to the bedroom was when things really started to escalate and get a lot more scarier for me.
That escalated quickly.
There were three bedrooms in that, or not three bedrooms, three closets in that room. So there was a closet that ran from the back all the way to the other bedroom, but the only door was in our bedroom. That was like the attic type thing, but it wasn't on top, it was on the side. Some of the older houses have that. So I remember that area, and then there was a closet, like a regular closet, that would just open, and it was a regular closet. And then the roof was like this, so there was like a little another closet down in the corner. So we had three in that room. And I remember the first couple nights that we stayed in that room, the doors would all come open, and my ex-boyfriend, their family is very educated about ghosts, or they've had a decent amount of experiences. So they kind of saw the signs and was like, I don't know, maybe there's something going on in the house or something like that.
We're putting the house on the market.
So I remember him being like really scared, and he was like, we're not dealing with that. I don't want no like ghost up in here. So he grabbed the kitchen chairs and he propped them in front of all the doors. And I remember waking up at like 12 or 3 or whenever in the middle of the night, and all the chairs had been pulled to the middle of the room, and they were all like back to back, just in a circle. And I'm a very light sleeper, so if it had been him, I would have woken up. But our door was actually broken at the time, and there was about this much room between the door and the frame, so it never shut properly. So we had to get a metal latch to put on the door to get it to stay. So the metal latch was on the inside, so if somebody was trying to get into the room, they would have never made it into the room because the metal latch prevented them from doing so. I mean, unless if they took like a ruler and did it, but I mean, that seems like a decent amount of work.
I don't want to work.
I really thought that somebody was messing with me with my like name being called and stuff like that, but I really couldn't explain the whole like breathing on my face thing. But I remember that really scared me, because it wasn't just, it went from being like in my mind, you know, like I thought I was crazy, to being like actually real. Like now I'm not the only person who's experiencing everything. Like, and the thing was, when it said my name, it would only say my name. It wouldn't say anybody else's name. It was always me. So like everybody else said that they didn't experience anything when they were at home. It was just me, like by myself. So another story from that room is around the time that everything started to like escalate and I started to have more and more experiences, there was a dream that I had. And I'm really not somebody who like interprets dreams. I don't take them for a deeper meaning than they should have.
That wasn't a dream, Carmen. Those were visitors.
I've never been like that. But I had this dream that I'm walking with my ex-boyfriend down the road, and there is this abandoned house, and we go in to see it, or like just see what was going on. And we walk in, and there is nothing in this house. There's like a kitchen and a living room. And I just walk in and I'm looking around, and I start to get this feeling, and I walk inside of the living room, and I turn, and there's this really big, like, the whole wall is like this mirror. And as soon as I look at it, I see this girl standing behind me, and she's this little girl who's wearing like a white dress and like black hair, and she says, "Help me." And I ran as fast as I could out of that house in my dream. So I don't know how it got brought up, but I don't know if I was like bringing it up in conversation or if I was asking for advice. My ex-boyfriend's mom was a Wiccan, and I was like, this dream's crazy. So I'm explaining it to her, and she said that she thought that it was a spirit who wanted to talk to me, who might have needed help, my first son, who might have needed help, but just didn't know how to present itself to me and was afraid of how I would react. So it tested how I would react in my dream, because it's more acceptable in your dream. So I was like, wow, so there really is a spirit here that's trying to like talk to me. And like I said, that was around the time when like Ghost Adventures was a big thing, and my mom was really into that show.
Who's there?
So my mom had just gotten back from a trip to Savannah, Georgia, and she went and did the whole like ghost tour thing, and she was showing me all of her like orb pictures. So I was like, I'm gonna go through this house and I'm gonna get orbs. Now, I wasn't a paranormal investigator back then, so I didn't know much about anything. So back then I was like, orbs are legit proof of the paranormal. Now I know that there's a big controversy. Me personally, I do believe that a lot of orbs can be chalked up to dust. So I'm down in this basement getting pictures and going everywhere in the house, and I always ended up with orbs. And I do believe it was because it was a very old farmhouse. I don't know how old it was, but it was pretty old. So I did get orbs, but I think that's the reason why. So me not knowing and being uneducated or like whatever, not being a legit paranormal investigator, just was really convinced that there was this spirit there instead of being thorough. So I do remember that his mother had bought this, it was a mirror. It was an old antique mirror, and they said it was over 100 years old. And she bought it and she put it in her room. And I remember she woke up one day and she was like screaming, and I'm like, what are you screaming for? What's going on? Because our bedroom's like right next to each other, and that's with the stairs in the middle. And she was like, oh, there's this handprint on the mirror, and I'm like, what are you talking about? So I go into her room, and there is this little child handprint on the mirror. And she would wipe it away, and it would come back every day and be right in the corner. And I thought that was the craziest thing, that there was a little child handprint there. But anyway, that doesn't really have anything to do. So things started to kind of escalate, and I would put things down in the room. And I'm very meticulous about where I put my stuff. I wasn't messy back then. I'm messy now. But everything always had its place, and it had to be in the place. So that way I would remember. So I would set stuff down, and I would come back later to like get it, and it would never be in the same place. And I would grow very frustrated because I didn't like my things being out of place. And I always thought it was like my ex messing with me, and I would always like yell at him for moving my shit, like don't move my stuff. And we'd always get into a fight about that. So this one time we were fighting, and I don't overly remember what we were fighting about, but it was this really, really big fight, and we were like screaming at each other. All of our fights were like that. And we were, I don't remember what we were fighting about, but we were in the room, and he loved to do this thing where he would go get his family members. They would put in their 2 cents on the situation, and for some reason, like, oh, if they agree with me, then I'm right, kind of thing. Like, anyway.
Mommy!
So he was like, I'm gonna go get my mom, and she's gonna solve this, like, kind of concept. So he goes to walk outside of the door, and the door so it's got the metal latch on it, so he takes the metal latch off, and he's trying to yank on this door, and this door is not opening. And I remember being so scared of being locked in this room because I didn't know what was going on. So he thought that somebody was holding the door. So him and I are like screaming. Well, he's really screaming. So he's like, open up this damn door, like all this stuff, like screaming, yelling profanities at whoever's holding the damn door.
What? Jim! Damn it! No!
And he's like, you better let it go, and all this stuff. And the door, I mean, I know that it wasn't closed for 5 minutes. I know that that's not the case. But it really did feel like a really long time of just being like locked somewhere. I don't like that concept. I don't like being locked somewhere, being stuck somewhere. So we're freaking out because we're trapped in this room, and he's trying to yank on the door. And remember, the door is literally like this far away from the frame. There's nothing that can get stuck on it. He's already undid the latch, and all of a sudden he's able to yank it free. And there was nobody standing next to that door. And the way that the house is set up was there was like stairs right next to our room. Like the wall is shared with the wall of the stairs, and it's all wood. You would have heard somebody running down the stairs real quick. So he whips around the corner, and he starts yelling down the stairs like, who the heck was holding the door? Like, and it started a fight between all of them, and nobody knew what the heck he was talking about. And I remember just being so scared because you could tell in their faces that it was none of them, and they didn't know what was going on. And up till this point, I had thought that most of what was going on was just in my head. And then, like, at that moment was when I really realized that all of it was real, and I wasn't thinking anything was not real at this point, because it went from being something that I thought was just me going crazy to being physically able to hold a door closed and lock me inside. And I just remember being so scared because I thought that like, I really, really thought that I was gonna end up dying in that house. Like, that was probably the scaredest I've ever been, was at that moment. And I just couldn't, I didn't know how to deal with it. It was so unreal to me. I don't know if that's, that all of this would be happening, and I was like, why is it happening to me?
Where are you trying to kill me?
Like, out of everybody, why me? Like, what did I do to deserve it? And I was just so scared. It was not a good time for me. It was very, very, very dark at that time. So I remember a lot of the emotions escalated after that. We started fighting more often, and like, things would be moved more often. I'd hear footsteps all the time. My name was being called, like, on repeat all the time. It would just grow louder and louder and louder until, like, it was just yelling my name. Like, it wanted something so bad. I wasn't a paranormal investigator at that point. Like I said, I had only watched TV, so I didn't overly know too much about anything. I think had I been a paranormal investigator, I really would have researched a lot, but I didn't, and I didn't do any of that, which kind of sucks. But I do remember that there was a day that his mother had come home from work, and she was saying that the neighbor lady wanted to see me. So I was like, why does the neighbor lady want to see me? Like, I don't know her. And she's like, oh, you need to go and meet the neighbor lady, like, all this stuff. And so I was like, fine, I'll go meet the neighbor lady real quick. No big deal. So I knock on the door, and she answers, and immediately she starts bombarding me with, this is the color of your aura, and I can feel your energy, and you know, like, you're such a nice person, and you're such a positive person, but you're so clouded right now. Like, you've got this, like, dark energy surrounding you and all this. And I'm like, what the heck is she talking about? Like, I ain't got no clue what she is talking about. And I think that was back during the time when, like, they would do those, like, psychic things where they would have, like, a whole crowd of people, and the psychic would stand in the middle and be like, oh, is there anybody here with the name of M or something like that? And I really didn't believe in that. So I'm thinking that she's like this, like that.
He says he's in a place with green trees.
She starts talking to me, and she's like, so I hear, or, you know, like, so your name's being called, all this stuff. So I'm thinking that somebody had told her, somebody from my ex's family. I'm like, okay, well, somebody had told her everything that was going on. So, I mean, like, she says that, she said that she was psychic. So I'm like, I don't know.
Cannot believe what I am hearing!
So I'm very hesitant to believe anything that she says right now. And she starts talking to me about how this spirit has attached itself to me and all this stuff. And I think she could tell that I was very, like, hesitant about everything. And she's like, oh, I know that, I know about the big fight and when this spirit held your door closed. And I was like, yeah. Well. So I'm assuming that somebody had told her, the mailman, sorry. So walk in front of, yeah, okay. All right. So I'm assuming that somebody had told her that, that was going on. So, you know, I was like, okay, well, it's just a story. So then she says, like, I know that that the spirit has been watching you at nighttime, and that it breathes on you when you sleep. And I had not told anybody that. Like, I didn't know how. I didn't, like, the only reason they even knew about anything else was because they were there and they had experienced it. I had never really told anybody about anything that was going on. I didn't want people to, you know, come at me and start thinking that I'm crazy. Like, I already wasn't a popular kid, and I already was, like, super nerdy. I didn't want people to hate me and make fun of me even further than they already did. So, I hadn't told anybody that. And she knew that. And she was an older lady, but, so I was really like, that's kind of weird. So, she told me that the house that, we were living in used to be a house for an elderly couple. Now, I don't know how elderly they were or how old they were, but, she said that the husband was working one day, got out of work early, came home, and caught the female with another guy. He was so outraged by that he took out his gun and he shot the guy. And in his outrage, he pushed his wife down the stairs and she died. After that, he committed suicide in the house. So all of it was in the house. I don't know if that's the spirit that was bothering me. She did say that I did have a spiritual attachment that was attracted to the negative mindset that I had. Now, she did say that I could have picked it up from anywhere. She couldn't confirm where it was from. She just knew that it was feeding off of my negative energy. And she said, it's creating this darkness around you and it wants you to be unhappy. And that's what makes it more powerful. So the more fear and the more upset you get, the more powerful it grows. And that's what's giving it its energy to do things like hold doors and move chairs and stuff like that. So I became really scared after that. I was like, oh my God, I gotta change my whole outlook on everything. I just was in so much disbelief as to everything.
You hiding something?
So, I don't remember if she saw that or if I told her that I didn't really believe her, but she said that she could prove that there was a spirit. So she wanted me to stand in a hallway, and she said she will ask it to present itself in a photo. So I'm like, okay, somehow gonna present itself in a photo. Okay, so this was back when I was 15, so it would have been probably about 2008, 2009. So I don't remember if they had iPhones then or not, but I do know that she had a track phone. So it was one of the ones that you would put minutes on, and it was like a flip phone. So she pulls out this flip phone and she's like, I'm gonna ask the spirit to present itself in this picture to prove to you that it's real, all this stuff. I'm like, okay, take the picture, lady. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. So she takes my picture. I don't feel anything. I don't feel like anything's wrong, or I don't feel any entities around me or anything like that. So she shows me the picture that she took. And standing next to me, about like all the way up here, is an outline of a guy. It's all red and it's like fuzzy. Like kind of pixelated, but not like really pixelated. So I remember it was just the outline, no details in the face, no details of the clothing, just an outline, and his shoulder came over my shoulder, and it made everything behind his outline was red and fuzzy. So it made my arm all red and fuzzy, and it was just a guy standing next to me. Actually, he was standing in front of me because his shoulder came over mine, and he was wearing a top hat. Now, like I said, wasn't a paranormal investigator back then, so I didn't know. I was just like mind blown that this was here. I didn't ask, you know, if she had any apps on her phone. I didn't really ask any of that. I wish I would have, knowing what I know now. But I do know that it was back in like 2008, 2009. I guess it's possible for her to have an app, but for her to go out of her way and say those things to me and show me and present me with a picture seems a little extreme, especially because I didn't even know her. That was the first time that I had ever met her. We also did talk about some things afterwards. She talked about how it's going to continue to bother me and to be a nuisance and feed off of my negative energy as long as I'm being negative. And she was saying that if I start to be positive, I won't have anything to offer it, stuff like that. Sorry, there's people across the street. I was just looking at them. So she did talk about how she can speak to spirits, how she can see portals, things like that. She did say there was a portal close by. I don't remember if she said there was a portal in the house or not. I don't think she did. I think she said there was a portal in her house. But she said that she knew that I had picked up the entity, and she could tell that I had picked up the entity just from being close, and that's why she wanted to talk to me, was so that she could help guide me through it. I know that there was a lot of scary instances where I was just so scared, but those are the major ones that I can remember. I'm sure there's like little ones where like something got moved, or like I heard a loud bang and stuff like that, but I don't overly remember them at this point. If I do remember them, I will make sure to jot them down and then add them to the video later. But so I hope that if you do have an attachment, or if you know somebody that has an attachment, that this video helps you. I will tell you, I was terrified. Having an attachment is a terrible, terrible thing. It makes you angry, it makes you depressed. I don't want to say it made me suicidal, because I don't think that it did, but I just remember being stuck. I was always stuck. I was stuck at the house. I was stuck in a relationship I didn't want it to be. I just remember feeling trapped, like I couldn't get out. And I know how terrible that feels. So if you do have an attachment, again, I hope the video really helped you. Try to stay more positive. I think everybody should have positivity in their life, especially if you're a paranormal investigator, because positivity is going to help ensure that you don't get attachments. Everybody always asks me, aren't you afraid of getting an attachment? And I always say no, because I have a positive outlook, so they won't really have anything to feed off of. But definitely share the video with your friends. Comment which story you thought was the creepiest. And I will see you guys next time. Thank you.